To begin this, we're going to start off with just a really simple questions. Are you a Democrat, and what neighborhood do you live in? And then I'd like to ask them to give us an opening statement of 1 minute. So let us start with John, since you're right here to my left, and we'll move on to Lloyd. Thank you.
I'm a lifelong Democrat, member of Teamster Local 117. Broke my parents' heart in 1972 when I announced I was going to vote for McGovern because they were good Midwestern Republicans. Love them, but just couldn't get there.
I'm Lloyd Hara, also a lifelong Democrat, and you probably know that we ran in '88 as a Democrat for state treasurer. He elected me multiple times as Seattle City treasurer and was currently as board commissioner and now King County assessor.
Oh, I live in the Roosevelt district, and I'm a huge supporter of mass transit, even though literally I live right next door to where they're building the Roosevelt light rail station. And my house is single. Is that going to affect my value, Lloyd?
Well, of course, we always take care of little problems like that, especially like in Des Moines where houses are falling in. I am a Queen Anne resident, went to Roosevelt High School, and a graduate of the University of Washington, both a BA in economics and an MBA in public administration.
Well, thank you both for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. I'd like to start off with this question. We'll just have a series of questions depending on how much time we have. There won't be any panel questions or anything like that. So the first question is, property values are skyrocketing in King County due to the tech boom. This will increasingly push low and middle income people out of the county and increase homelessness. What policies and programs would you advocate to the King County Council to address housing affordability? And Lloyd, why don't we start with you this time?
We do have some programs in King County. One of them is the multifamily tax exempt housing program, where the city council throughout the areas can adopt this program. The whole purpose of this is to reduce the amount of rent that is charged in these multifamily houses. We've also, our job is to uniformly, fairly, and assess all properties. And that's very important for several reasons. One, I want no one to pay any more property taxes than required. But secondly, to raise income for the cities to get into the various programs that they need, such as if they want to get involved in more housing units, etc. Provide for transportation, provide for education. That's the most important role of our office, is to uniformly and fairly appraise all 700,000 parcels in King County.
Lloyd's right that the multifamily program is helpful in Seattle, but it's frankly too narrow as far as in Seattle. We need to extend it across the county, and that's going to come from an assessor who can work with those suburban jurisdictions and start to explain to them the importance and value of spreading that multifamily affordable housing across the county. The other thing that the assessor has an ability to do is, from the database that it has, take a look at where there's property that's underutilized. You see it around West Seattle, you see it around the county. Buildings, apartment buildings, former motels and that could be used for housing again. We need to look at that. And then we need to look at how we deal with foreclosed properties and whether we can't put those back into the housing stock as well.
Thank you. If citizens don't have computer access or the skills to use one, or English isn't their first language, how do you get assessment information to them? And we'll start with John.
Well, the office has for some time, and while I was chief deputy, worked on how do we present our our information in multiple languages. I think it's also that you have to be more proactive, and you need to reach out to these kinds of communities that often English is a second language to make sure that they do understand what's available to them, what programs are available, what are their responsibilities as either an individual taxpayer or as a corporate taxpayer.
I should also add, in the multifamily tax exempt housing, we do work with many communities in King County. In fact, just yesterday was dealing with the city manager down in Auburn. So the program is spreading, it just isn't in Seattle. And dealing with the programs for multiple language. We translate all our information in the 5 basic highest languages throughout King County. I made it a point, obviously coming from an ethnic community, I found that necessary to do this because a lot of the information has not been previously made available to all citizens of King County, so we need to do that. I've also increased the number of foreign language speakers in my office. We can handle anywhere from Mandarin, Somali, to Thai, to Spanish, to other languages. So I felt that it was very important that we have staff that also spoke the language.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask this one, start with Lloyd. The assessed value of my property went down, but my taxes went up. Why?
That's a good question. I'm asked that question all the time. And that's a series of things that have happened. The good thing is that we've seen property values go the other direction. However, there are several reasons as to why this has occurred. One, there is a salary cap or a revenue cap of 1%. So all governments, all 541 of them, can increase property taxes by 1% or the revenue that comes to them. Secondly, it also works very strongly in dealing with the percentages in the voter-approved levies. That is the greatest portion of increases in your property tax. Even though values went down, that's the other reason. The third reason deals with how properties are allocated throughout the area where you live. We have 591 separate tax districts, and you're taxed accordingly to those 591.
It's actually levy codes, not tax districts. You have 161 tax districts. And to the fundamental of your question about why can your property value go down and taxes go up, it's in part because fundamentally Washington State is a budget-based property tax system. It's like the scales of justice, if you will. If your value goes down, in order to meet the revenue target of various local governments, those 161 jurisdictions, it means that the rate that you pay on that property value goes up. And the key here is to try to figure out, well, how we balance that, but how we don't totally balance it on the back of the middle class. And you have to make sure that there's a fair distribution between what you're collecting in property taxes from homeowners as well as what you're collecting from commercial taxpayers.
What steps would you take to ensure the county isn't overcharging seniors? And I've forgotten who I started with last time. Lloyd, would you like to start?
No, you started with him.
Oh, all right, thank you.
So the first and foremost thing is we need to go to Olympia and reform the low-income senior exemption program. It's broke. The fact is it's stuck on a revenue model and a cost threshold of about $35,000 a year that hasn't been adjusted in well over a decade. What I saw while I was in the office is literally seniors, because their pension went up, because of the COLA, their Social Security went up, were getting kicked off the program. We have to put an end to that. We can do that, but we have to do it through state law. We have to do it smart so that it doesn't create a bow wave through the other 38 counties. Second of all, you also, in terms of reforming that, you have to tighten the loophole so that you don't have some of the 1% that abuse the program. I saw a guy on Mercer Island that was featured in a program called $1 Million Rooms that claimed he only had $29,000 in income and he wanted an exemption. That's wrong. We need to put an end to that.
For the last 5 years since you elected me in 2009, I've been going to Olympia to see if we can get the level raised and the amount of income that can happen. It's an important program. There's that in King County, the amount of inflation or the cost of living in the last decade would exceed the level and get us up to at least $40-some thousand and making it fair for everybody. And we need to do that. The difficulty is, like when trying to get something passed in the legislature, you have to deal both with both sides of the parties and also between Eastern Washington and Western Washington. And we're trying to make it equitable and fair for everybody throughout the state. So I've been working hard on that. The other area that I've been working hard, being a veteran, I've been very concerned about the veterans program and the need to do that. Same thing for disabled vets. We have a bill in Olympia right now that's still active, and where I'm still going down and testifying in favor of that bill.
Okay, I've got one last question for each of them, but the questions are different questions for each of them. And I'm going to start with John. The question to you, and I'll read them both out before you start. The question for John is, what is the incumbent doing wrong? What would you do differently? And then the question for Lloyd is, how do you respond to your challenges, concerns, and will his ideas work? So let's start with John.
I think the office needs to become more technologically savvy than it's been. It stalled out on a project that I spearheaded to allow data collection to be done on an iPad that could have saved the county millions of dollars, actually generated $6.1 million in a 5-year period. That stalled, so they're stuck on a version of the app that was built in 2012. There are other things that we need to do where the office can be more aggressive on how we deal with the housing accessibility and affordability issue. And that's a passion of mine. It is not yet, from what I've seen, been a passion of being company.
John mentions about the iPad. We were the first jurisdiction in the country to go to utilize the iPad. We are continuing to upgrade it every year, even since John left the office. We also just introduced what we call LocalScape, which just has come out, and this integrates property data with education data, with census data, with basic permit data. So it's a tool to be used by decision makers so they have more informed information. It's an open portal. We just launched that 2 weeks ago. We've had outstanding reviews with regard to that. We've also upgraded our website, and we're well over 4 million page views a month on the website. And also the reviews that have come back on that have been outstanding. We've also won 7 national and international awards for our work that we've done and innovation in the assessor's office.
I just don't understand why you went with LocalScape with an offshore vendor.
Excuse me, that's out of order. Thank you. All right, I'm going to let each of you have a minute to wrap up. And I'll start with John, since you were just speaking, and then we'll finish with Lloyd.
The assessor's office is clearly one of those in King County that's a down ballot race. Certainly the excitement and the energy generated in this room just a few minutes ago with the city council is what's attracting a lot of attention here. But it's a vital race, and it's a vital office to the very services that cities, counties, and the state provide. There's opportunities to bring revenue in that we're leaving on the table today. There are opportunities to improve our collaboration with both our neighboring communities, neighboring counties, and it needs to be somebody that has a track record of collaboration and success. I have that. I'm proud of my record, both in assessments and when I was chief of staff for Executive Sims, and I'd like to take that skills and put it to use for all of you as taxpayers, and I ask for your support.
I find it quite interesting to talk about collaboration. That's what I've done since I've been in office. You can take a look at all my endorsements. I have probably almost every legislator in the county. Also, most of the mayors, most of the city council members, I do collaborate. I'm out giving over 200 presentations per year. That's where I just came from a town hall meeting in Bellevue, where we had over 60 people attending the town hall meeting to respond to their questions. That's where I am. I'm out in the community. I think it's very important as the assessor that I listen well to what the citizens have to say and how well we're doing in the office.
Sounds like that's it. Thank you very much.